So good morning to everybody. I would like to ask you firstly if you can hear me. All right. So we can start. We have about 24 people currently, which is good. So we can start the seminar today. I'm going to be quite brief, so definitely if you have any questions you can ask, but basically the idea today is to show you what happened in the game, in the last period, in the period number 1. I will show you some charts, some graphs, and so that you get a feedback on what you have done. And based on the feedback, you should be able to work on your negotiations and also on the next decision, basically decision number 2. So that's basically the idea. Now I will try to switch my screen in order that you can see the StarWars software, the StarWars model, and you will see the chart there. So let's try. So basically now you should see the StarWars module. Is that right? Can you see the StarWars module? Nice, good. And I will go step by step. I will show you basically what happened during the last period. You can keep your questions till the end, because now I would like to use the time and talk about the whole development step by step. And when you have some questions, you can ask those questions in the end when I finish, because it would be too difficult for me to interact so quickly. So I will check if there are any questions. So we can start. I will start with retailers. I always start with retailers, and then I will show you the charts of manufacturers. Speaking about retailers, we will firstly see the development of the perception. So I will show the quality perception. Here you can see the quality perception of the retailers. So obviously, retailer 1 is perceived as a little bit more quality provider than retailer 2, and also the retailer 2 is a little bit losing in the quality perception. Then I will show you convenience perception. The same, retailer 1 is perceived as more convenient, and retailer 2 is perceived as a little bit less convenient, and the convenience perception is falling down a little bit here. And finally, we can see the price perception. The price perception is important because the lower the figure, the cheaper you are perceived. So in this case, retailer 2 is perceived as more expensive than retailer 1. So retailer 1 is perceived as cheaper. The yellow line basically, that's retailer 3. retailer 3 is perceived as very expensive in comparison to retailers 1 and 2. So that's about perception. Now you should see the number of shoppers, how many shoppers you have, and we can divide the shoppers into quality shoppers, value shoppers, local shoppers, price sensitive shoppers, and all shoppers. So let's see how many shoppers you have. Usually the price sensitive shoppers are the most important ones. That's the biggest group. So let's go step by step, and we will start with quality shoppers. Quality shoppers, so you are doing well, definitely. Both retailers have a lot of quality shoppers. The development is good, even though retailer 2 has slightly more quality shoppers, which means that you concentrate a little bit more on quality. Obviously, that's about the strategy. If you look at value shoppers, the situation is almost the same, but the other way around. Basically, retailer 1 is having more shoppers here in the value shoppers, whereas the retailer 2 is slightly having less, but the difference is very small, so I don't see a problem here. Then we have local shoppers, which the difference here is a bit bigger, but it was also in the beginning, because in the beginning you have started with some position. As you can see, the position is still the same, basically, even though retailer 1 has managed to grow a little bit here in local shoppers, so retailer 2 also grew, but not so fast. But now we will see the price sensitive shoppers, which is basically the most important category of segment. That's the most important segment. And here, retailer 1 is having more by 4 percentage points. So that's quite a difference. And finally, we can already guess that retailer 1 is going to have more shoppers in total. Even so, let's see. And now we see all shoppers. And here it's quite obvious that retailer 1 is a little bit stronger here, having about 4 percentage points more than retailer 2. Retailer 2 has a little bit dropped, but not much, so I don't see there is a problem. That's fine. And on top of that, I would like to highlight that even retailer 3 has dropped in the number of shoppers, which is good. So finally, both retailers 1 and 2 have managed to increase the number of shoppers, and the number of shoppers in the case of retailer 3 is a little bit smaller. So I think this is a good achievement. So basically, from the perspective of market share, and marketing in general, both retailers have done quite a good job, and I can't give you any like more positive recommendations. It's all right what you are doing, and you can continue like that. So that's basically the market development. And also I need to show you the financial development. Anyway, you have already received all these charts by email. So you can go through those charts on your own if you want. And also you have all the reports which should correspond basically with these charts. So I will continue, and I will show you now the financial situation of both retailers. And I usually start with the gross contribution, because the gross contribution shows the margin. It shows the margin you are charging. So this is the gross contribution development in the case of retailers 1 and 2. And here I would like to point out that you have dropped the margins basically, and that can be an issue. So for for the next period, you should concentrate on your margins. You should concentrate on your margins because you are losing the margins. In the beginning, your margins were much higher than now, and now the gross margins are like this. So it already indicates that you might be losing money in the end. So for period 2, please concentrate on the margins. And the margin is basically the difference between the buying price and selling price. So it's not that difficult. So that's for the gross contribution. I will show you the net contribution also. The net contribution is just here, and here we can already see that both retailers are in red numbers. It's -2 to 2,000 for retailer 2 and -4.7 in the case of retailer 1. So obviously you are losing money here, and it's mainly caused by the margins. I have done the analysis and I have gone through all the data. So the only thing you should concentrate on is your margins. So either you need to increase the retail prices, or you need to push your suppliers with prices. You need to get discounts, and that's important for your next negotiations. Retailers need to negotiate discounts. That's my recommendation. Number 1, I would say. Because if you look at EVA, which is like the final profit, you will find out that it's also negative, obviously. And that's basically just the consequence of the margins, but also the consequence of relatively high stocks. And also it can be influenced by your receivables and payables, meaning that in order to improve the EVA, besides the gross margin, you should definitely concentrate on your fixed costs, and the fixed costs can be influenced also, and operating costs, and these can be influenced also by your stock management and by the receivables and payables. So your target should be to concentrate on long payment terms in the case for retailers, definitely. But of course, you need to fight with producers, with manufacturers in order to get this better. But that's how it works. I can maybe show you the fixed capital employed. You can see the total capital employed has grown significantly. The total capital employed has grown significantly for both retailers, which is affecting the EVA mainly. So besides the gross margin, this is the problem why your EVA is negative. And I have checked your fixed costs and operating costs, and it's mainly caused by the receivables and payables balance. So you need to increase the payables and decrease the receivables, but basically it's about the payment terms, extension of the payment terms. And secondly, you should also concentrate on your stock. So you should check your unsold stock, and you should minimize your unsold stock. So basically this would be my recommendation for retailers. Retailers should minimize the stock, they should extend the margins a little bit, and they should extend the payment terms, which is basically the task for negotiation. That's the task for negotiation which you should be doing now in your group, so for the next second decision. So that's basically the situation of retailers. Do you have any questions concerning the retailers' development? I don't want to overload you by a lot of data. I just wanted to concentrate on the most important on the most important elements. So once again, concentrate on margins, please. Margins, receivables and payables. I can already see the question. Where can you see the receivables and payables ratio? I can show you the chart even, and you can see it there. But basically, I'm afraid you cannot control your payables that much. Well, basically, you can control your payables by the payment terms, but you cannot control your receivables that much because that's controlled by the consumers already. That's by the software. So the only thing you can do is the payment terms. Anyway, let's go back and let's have a look. The receivables and payables, capital employed. Yeah, so receivables have grown, but not significantly. And this is something receivables you cannot basically influence the receivables that much because it's about the software. But you can control the payables. Sorry, yeah, more charts. Capital employed. Here you can see the payables, and the payables have dropped here. Actually, I'm not sure why this has happened, why the payables in period 0 were so high. That's how the software simulated the period 0. But what you should do now is to like increase this number. And I would do it definitely by the payment terms extension, because now you have 60 days of payment terms, and you can increase it by 10, 20, 30 days, up to 90 days, 100, 120. It all depends on your ability to negotiate with manufacturers. So that's my recommendation, I would say, so far. So is it all clear concerning retailers? Yeah, general expense. So I have a question here. What is general expense? General expense is something you can't control that much because general expenses are, I can show you even the general expenses in more charts, which is here. So you can see there was a growth, but the growth was not high. It doesn't affect you that much. General expenses basically are the staff, people, you need to pay the people, you need to pay the maintenance and some communication, advertising, let's say, etc. But the difference is just minimum. So I'm not afraid of that. I don't see an issue there. So any other questions concerning the retailers, or can we already switch to manufacturers? Can I switch to manufacturers? Are you ready? May I continue? All right. I can see the answers. There are 15 people only. Strange. Okay, so now I will show you the manufacturers. Concerning manufacturers, in general, I don't see big issues, basically. I can say the manufacturers have done a good job, and I don't see any big faults there. I normally start with the Mindspace. Actually, when you don't know what is Mindspace, it's brand awareness. It's basically it measures how well consumers know your brand, or basically your brands. It's basically calculated as the total brand awareness of all your brands. And here it's divided into Foodles and Voodles. So now you can see Foodles. And obviously it's manufacturer 1 having the best brand awareness. Then it's manufacturer 2 and manufacturer 3 manufacturer 3, sorry, and finally it's manufacturer 2 having the least or the lowest brand awareness. But you know, don't be scared about, or don't be too much driven by brand awareness, because I don't think it has a direct impact on sales. In my experience, it can help, all right, and you can influence it by advertising, by the investments into advertising, but it's not the only tool how to drive the sales. If you want to drive the sales, you need market share and you need shelf space. Basically, I can show you the Voodoo's situation. This is the Voodoo's situation and the brand awareness in Voodoo's. Here you can see it's manufacturer 3 having the best, followed by manufacturer 1 and manufacturer 2. It's dropped a bit, but not too much. I wouldn't be scared of this. So you can see it basically reflects your investments into advertising. So there is not a big deal about it. You can keep it. You can keep the investments, I would say. What is more important, I think, is the shelf space share. This is for Voodoo's, and it reflects basically your presence in the retail stores. So the bigger the shelf space, the more visible you are in the stores. And here you can see that it's mainly manufacturers 2 and 3 having the best shelf space. And also at the bottom of the chart, like this and this, these are the private labels. So this is retailer 1 private labels, and this is the retailer 2 private labels. So retailers have already increased the shelf space of their private labels, obviously. But still it's quite low, obviously. For Voodoo's, it's the other way around, basically. Here, the biggest shelf space is occupied by manufacturer 1 and 2, and manufacturer 3 has the least, but the differences are not critical. So it's still very good development, I think. And it doesn't make sense to show the all because it doesn't calculate it like that. But what is more important for you is the market share, because market share is what counts. For market share, you will get points. So let's see the market share, and you can see it's pretty much equal. You are very well balanced in the market share. So far, it looks like it's manufacturer 2 having the biggest market share. Then on the second position, it's manufacturer 2 and manufacturer 1 and manufacturer 2 is having the least, but the differences are small. What is important here, you can see the figures. Manufacturer 1, 2, 3, 4. Manufacturer 4 has 0 market share, which is great. So manufacturers have done a good job. At the same time, you can see retailers have about 7.6 and 7% of market share. That's the private labels. That's for all. If you want to see the situation in Voodoo's, it looks like this. So in Voodoo's, it's about manufacturer 3 mainly, and in Voodoo's, it's about manufacturers 1 and 2. So you can see it's divided a little bit. Based on my experience, Voodoo's market is not so strong as the Voodoo's market. So I definitely would recommend to concentrate on the Voodoo's market. So those who are strong here in Voodoo's usually are strong in total, and it works like this. Because manufacturer 3 is strong here, so is strong in total as well. In Voodoo's, all right. In Voodoo's manufacturer 3 is not so strong, but it doesn't really matter that much. So that's our market share. And now I will show you the financial results, because you need to earn money. And we will start with the gross contribution again. And here you can see a good development, because the gross contribution, speaking about margins, are growing mainly for manufacturer 1, but for all of you. So it's good. This is a very good development. This is Voodoo's, the same development, but manufacturer 3 is strong here, but it corresponds basically with the market share, because the market share of manufacturer 3 in the Voodoo's market is the best, so it corresponds also with the gross contribution. And for both, like for all, it looks like this. So here, the best one is manufacturer 1, followed by 2 and by 3 and by 2, but the differences are not so high here. Net contribution should basically copy the development of the gross contribution. So let's have a look. So that's for all, for the whole market, Voodoo's and Voodoo's together. And here manufacturer 1 is the best, followed by manufacturer 3 and manufacturer 2 the last. But the difference again is not so high. So I'm quite happy for this development. In Voodoo's it looks like this. It's again the domain of manufacturer 3, and Voodoo's is the domain of the manufacturer 1, let's say. But in total, it's still manufacturer 1 here. And finally, I can show you the EVA, because that's what you want. Let's see the cumulated EVA. So we are growing. We are growing the EVA. And the best one is here, manufacturer 1, followed by manufacturer 3 and manufacturer 2 being on the last position. But never mind, there is just about 2000 development, which is very good result, I think. So definitely for this development, I don't have any big comments. This is for Voodoo's separately. So here again, it's dominated by manufacturer 3, and Voodoo's is dominated by manufacturer 1. So again, Voodoo's, and all. I believe I have also sent you these charts, so you can take a look at them. So basically, this is like the development. I have also checked your stock, so maybe you can see the total capital employed and the inventories, costs of inventories. So here perhaps this would be a warning for manufacturer 2. Manufacturer 2 has big stock in the end, so this should be reduced. This is the only comment I can show you here, and it's the case mainly for Voodoo's, because here it's not so high, but in Voodoo's, yes. So you should think about this. Not too high stock in the end. So yeah, that's the situation. So once again, what about the recommendation for manufacturers? I don't see any big troubles there. You should continue the way you are doing now, but of course, if you want to grow the sales, you need to have market share, and in order to have market share, you need to have shelf space. So if you want to grow it, you need to negotiate the extension of shelf space with the retailers. You can also negotiate promotions, which is also very important, and that should basically ensure that you grow in the next period. You can also play with prices. You can reduce price, etc., etc. So these would be the recommendations in general. Are there any questions so far? Is everything clear? Okay. Good to see. Good to see. Yeah, there is a question from retailers. If you should or if you must sell all kinds of products, or you can just promote one or two. It's up to you. You can do whatever you want. If you want, you can only have one product or two products, but I don't recommend that. For retailers, I recommend to have all products, or most products at least, but you don't need to promote them. You can only promote some products. So this is up to you. The promotion, it's not compulsory. Basically, you can have the product in your portfolio, but you don't have to promote. You don't need to sell them at discounts. This is not the problem. This is completely up to you. So you have a free space. And it also, depends on your negotiations with suppliers, manufacturers, because sometimes manufacturers want to promote the products and they are going to pay you money for that. So if you want to get the money from manufacturers for promotion, then you need to make the promotion, because when you don't make the promotion, you don't get the money from the manufacturers. Any other questions? So basically, what I need from you now is to negotiate. Unfortunately, I can't make with you the negotiation inside the classrooms. Normally I do it. Normally we have the negotiations inside the classrooms, but under the current circumstances, this is impossible. So the only thing you can do is to negotiate on your own online as you wish. And I can show you basically what you should negotiate. So let's have a look. All right, so yes, tools, process. So yeah, this is basically the negotiation agreement you can access. This is the example of retailer 1 and manufacturer 1. So the first thing you should negotiate is the quantity discount here. So you can buy a certain quantity, minimum quantity, and you can get a special discount related to the minimum quantity. So you can say, okay, we are going to buy 100 pieces of Frill 1, but we will get 10% discount. So that's number one, what you should negotiate. Because as you know, there is a fixed price for period 2, but you can get discount. But for the discount, you should specify the minimum quantity. So that's number one for negotiation. You can extend the shelf space, and you can pay for the shelf space, which should be mentioned here. How much? What's the condition? How big shelf space? You can get money for price promotion. As you know, retailers should promote or can promote their products and basically they can get support from manufacturers, which should be indicated here, how much and related to the product. Listing fee. You can list a new product. As you know, manufacturers have a lot of new products, let's say, so manufacturers can offer you a new product. So the new product can be mentioned here, and the listing fee should be also indicated. I would forget about other payments. Don't do this. It's not necessary. Then what you can do, you can invest money into cooperative advertising. Cooperative advertising is advertising of retailers and manufacturers. It's a combined advertising. So if you spend some money here, it means that a part is spent by manufacturer and a part is spent by retailer. And by this kind of advertising, you communicate basically both the supermarket brand and the brand like Freelon. So it's a combined advertising, which has an impact on retailers and manufacturers, both. What else? Then you can negotiate POS, points of sales activities. In the beginning of the game, I have explained to you that you basically have, by the rules, you have each retailer in Foodles and in Voodoo's has 2 POS options. So retailers can choose 2 brands in Foodles and 2 brands in Voodoo's for POS. POS advertising, which means a special display. Special display. Imagine you have a shelf, and on each shelf there is like one end and the second end, and if you display the product on the end of the display, then that's the POS communication, and you improve the sales. But you only have 2 positions. Retailers can only have 2 positions for the POS. So they need to decide to which they are going to give the opportunity to display the product separately, let's say. And it's indicated here, okay? So we can decide we are going to display Frail. So you will put the amount here, like 500 maybe, or 1000, something like that. And that's it. And we will understand, the software will understand that it's going to be displayed, and it will grow the sales. But only 2 can be displayed in each category. And finally, you should negotiate the days of payment. Today you have 60, but it can be 30, 70, 80, 90, 100, as you wish. This is completely up to you. And there is one more command, which is the maximum buyback volume, which basically I would not negotiate, because frankly speaking, I don't have experience of this, because in the last periods we haven't done it. So this is quite a new tool. So I would leave it, and I would finish with the days of payment. So once again, when you are negotiating, you should negotiate the quantity discounts for each product. Then the minimum quantity, of course. Then some payments for shelf space, payments for the promotions, payments for listings, cooperative advertising, and spendings on POS, basically, special display. And don't forget about days of payment. So basically the idea is that if you negotiate and if you agree on the terms, you should be able to access this module, and you should be able to fill in the data here. But it can be controlled always by the retailer and by the manufacturer. So you need to agree. You need to agree and see how it works. It should work definitely. And once you have the negotiation finished, you can start your decision again. Yeah, so again, decision number 2, so you already know that. So you, based on the negotiation, you make the decision for the production quantity, prices, advertising, communication, composition of the products. That's the same as for period 1, basically. But now you will do it for period 2, but based on the negotiation. So that's basically the plan. That's the plan. The idea is really to negotiate, to use the time and negotiate, fill in the negotiation forms, and based on the negotiation, fill in the decision for period 2. And once I have all the data in the system, I can start the new simulation for period 2, and I will show you the new data. The question is how fast you can do it, of course, because normally we make the negotiations at the university. You need to make it online, or you can do it from your homes, but you need to speak, of course, and based on that you can make the decision. So the question is, if you are able to make all the negotiations and all the decisions by the next week, let's say by